The thoughts, opinions, and general overall shades thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck and Rico Lamitte, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Yeah, good morning, everybody. That's right. It is Tuesday, February 18th. And we are going to put up a little poll for you guys. I can't wait to see what you guys have to say about this. This is some new tech that we're doing. So then that way, everybody from any platform that you're watching us on will be able to participate in the poll, and we'll get some live results. And so we're going to try this out today. So let me know what you guys think about that in the comments below. But nonetheless, today is National Battery Day. Todd.
Nice.
Yeah, that's right. Everybody needs a good charge up, right?
That's for sure. Mm-hmm. I just changed some batteries in a device here at my house. So
was it your smoke alarm
already?
Was it your smoke alarm?
No, it was my scale.
I see what you did there. Oh, it wasn't like your weed scale?
No, not my weed scale.
Okay, that's what I think of when I hear
do have
scale.
one. I just the batteries are fine.
Okay, all right. Too bad Jenny's not here today because it's National Drink Wine Day. I know she loves a good bottle of wine.
Oh, good bottle, not a good glass.
No, yeah, good bottle. Yeah, exactly. Yep. Mm-hmm. And it's also National Crab Stuffed Flounder Day today. I'm not too sure about that one. Crab stuffed flounder. I like crab, but I don't know about stuffed flounder. That sounds a little awkward to me. But
is the flounder stuffed with crab, or is the crab stuffed with flounder?
It sounds like the flounder is stuffed with crab. That's how I'm interpreting it. But you know, who knows nowadays? Anyway, you know what I'm saying? All the craziness that's going on, Todd.
That's right. It's like is jumbo shrimp really large shrimp or really small jumbos,
or are they actually just prawns?
So much going on.
Oh, yes. Thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look up above and down below to see exactly where we live on the internet. And we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, X, Instagram, Facebook, and now on Kick as well as on our very own website at www.highat9news.com. And we're still trying to figure out this LinkedIn thing, so thank you all for your patience. And anyways, thank you all for joining us from whatever platform you guys are joining us from. And man, Rico is out today. He has a staff meeting, so he can't be with us today. So sorry about that, guys. But
likely story.
Yeah, you know how it goes. You know how it goes. It's going to be all right.
People with jobs.
I don't understand all that.
I have a job.
You have a job? Yeah, but you're the owner. You're the boss.
That's true.
Yeah, it's a big job. It's a big difference. Big difference there, though, buddy. Big difference. Trust me, I know. I'm a boss as well, Todd. I understand.
I know.
I get it. But I'm gonna kick this story off because we're gonna be a little light, and Yarrow's probably gonna pop in, and so this is a little triggering story I found. I thought you guys may find interesting or whatnot. It's this is definitely what not to do on Valentine's Day. Okay, Todd.
Okay, good tip.
All right. Because a Texas man who allegedly gave his daughter THC chocolate appeared very high, officials say. That's right. A Southeast Texas man appeared very high the day he allegedly gave his daughter a chocolate bar that contained THC. Now, that's just bad news right there. Sending her to the hospital, court documents show. Officials in Harris County made the observation on Valentine's Day, leading to the arrest of Anong in Tavanong, Inthavong, who was 47, on a child endangerment charge, according to court documents obtained by the USA Today. Someone called deputies on Friday to the Texas Children's Hospital West Campus about a drug overdose, according to the Harris County Constable Precinct number 5. And according to the caller, a 9-year-old girl said her father had given her a chocolate bar. The girl was rushed to the hospital showing signs of intoxication, they say, the precinct shared. A lawyer for the father did not immediately respond to requests for comment on Monday afternoon. And then what happened, do you ask? Well, the girl was visiting her father when he asked her if she wanted a chocolate bar and took it out of a plastic bag, court documents show. The girl ate some of the chocolate, then had a second piece. She did not recognize it as any kind of chocolate she had seen before, the court documents show. And after having the second piece of chocolate, the girl began to feel thirsty and dizzy and could feel her heart beating very fast, the documents show. I've had that happen to me from edible. My heart start pounding. Dude. I've had that, yeah. It's unfortunate. The girl's mother told television station KTRK-TV that her daughter was visiting her father when her daughter called her and said she was feeling unsteady. The girl's mother rushed to the home and found that her daughter was struggling to stand. In a quote, they say, "He almost attempted to stop me, and I grabbed her and got in the car and took off," the girl's mother told KTRK-TV. Doctors performed a urinalysis which confirmed the child had THC in her system, and the court documents show THC is a compound found in cannabis plant that is impairing, mind-altering, or causes users to feel high, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. The officials say, though, that the defendant admitted to taking multiple drugs, according to the court documents. The girl's father called authorities and said he was suicidal, they say. The defendant, the father, was very high and admitted to taking multiple drugs today, end quote, court records show. And officials said that at the scene he denied being suicidal. Court documents also show that he has a history of drug use, and online court records show previous charges, including an April 2003 marijuana possession charge. He was ordered to undergo 2 years of community supervision, including urine testing, and he was also ordered to stay away from drugs and alcohol, court records show. In July of 2009, he was charged with driving while intoxicated and pleaded guilty. He was sentenced to 3 years in the county jail with 2 days previously served, and he was charged a $200 fine, and his license was suspended for a year, court documents show. At his hearing on Saturday, the father said he didn't understand what was happening. In a quote, he says, I don't kind of understand because I have a metal plate in my head, he said, according to KTRK-TV. The judge set the father's bond at $15,000 on Saturday and offered him not to have any contact with his daughter, per court records, you guys. Well, I'll say this. I think the court definitely should step in even a little bit further and revoke all of this father's rights in regards to this, because this to me is just not acceptable type of behavior. And the fact that he's trying to downplay it and blame it on the fact that he has a metal plate in his head, I'm just not buying that sandwich, that's for sure. But I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this.
No, there's no room for giving your kids any kind of edibles. It's just dumb. It should be punished, and it's just bad parenting. I mean, let's face it.
Exactly.
Can't wait to hear what Yarrow has to say, but you're muted there, Yarrow.
Yeah, I don't think Yarrow's trying to. I think Yarrow's trying to talk to someone on his phone. It looks like.
Funny.
I don't think he's trying to talk to us.
Yeah, but I think, good. Let's throw the book at this guy. I mean, more of that has to happen. They should prosecute. And I guess his 3 days in jail for his DUI didn't teach him a lesson.
No, not at all.
Could be the metal plate in his head.
No, yeah, bro.
Right.
I don't understand why a parent would even do that to their child. Why they would think that it's funny or a joke, or you know what I mean. I don't understand that. That to me is a little cray cray.
Yeah, I mean, is it the same sort of situation? Hey, I love my kids. I'd love to get high with them, right? Like, what the fuck?
Right. Man,
what the fuck is that?
Man, it looks like Yarrow is tapped in with us. Yarrow, are you with us, Yarrow?
I am.
Okay.
I am.
All right. And you were on a phone call, it looked like, right?
You know, there are certain calls when when that call comes in, I'm obligated to pick up.
I understand. I understand. I have a couple people like that.
What I'm not obligated to pick up is edibles outside of a child-proof container, and yet it's unfortunate we continue to hear these articles. I don't know how people can be so uncool with where they put their stash. I mean, it's
hold on a second. It's not about where he put his stash. He handed it to her. Yeah, he gave it to her. He's an enabler.
I mean, that's like, that's child endangerment, right?
Yeah.
I don't understand. If it's good for me, it's not good for you if you're under 18.
Mm-hmm.
You can wait until that person is an adult child and then get down. But I think the metal plate in his head is probably.
You think that's a realistic excuse? I don't buy that shit.
I think we should be thankful that he wasn't doing heroin and said, "Hey, honey, come on over, try some of this."
Well, it says that he was on other drugs, but it doesn't mention what other drugs.
He was taking an RFK cocktail.
Stop it.
He wants to avoid going to a work camp.
Oh man, you guys. Jeez.
I can't. It's hard enough to be a parent without apparently being your worst enemy. So.
Oh, I see what you did there. That was cute, Yarrow. That was
very clever.
I mean, I don't understand why this
wordsmith.
Yeah, I just really don't understand why this court said that they don't recommend the father to be around the daughter. They should have just revoked the parents' rights altogether and said, hey, you know what, you have to remain in your mother's custody, and your father can't have custody or visitation rights without some type of supervision in place. I mean, I've seen that happen tons of times.
Sort of temporary injunction, but they were probably looking at waiting for the facts to come out through some other type of slower due process.
I mean, how do your analysis?
I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy.
This is an open and shut case. Yeah.
I mean, especially if he admitted it, right? Like, what else is there to adjudicate?
And the kid admitted it. The kid admitted it that the dad gave me this chocolate bar. I had a piece. I started having another piece. I started feeling light and dizzy. Whoop-de-whoop. My heart starts beating.
Right? I mean, I took my kid's cell phone away, and he told me he was going to call 911 and tell him I touched him in his no places because he was so upset. So kids can say anything. He didn't end up doing that, but kids can say anything. I think what's more damning is when the parent admits that they did something. That's a wrap.
Oh man, this is exactly what not to do on Valentine's Day, you guys. Just so you know,
or any other day for that matter.
Fair enough, Todd. Fair enough. Fair enough. Oh man, you guys. You're
supposed to really, when it comes to what you're allowed to let children eat, you're supposed to really keep it to like bunny crackers and Capri Sun.
Mm-hmm. Capri Suns were pretty good.
Liquid sugar.
Yeah,
it could be worse than THC.
I think liquid sugar probably is. I mean, but I do want to state that the kid was fine. There are no stories of kids dying from taking too much cannabis or whatnot. It's inconvenient for a while, but give them a few hours and they'll be all right.
I'm dying from the fact that we're still having to cover stories like this. I mean, people gotta level up a little bit.
You're dying from that, huh, Yarrow?
Yeah,
I see what you did there.
We all die a little bit every single day, though, Yarrow, don't we?
Well,
I'm oxidizing and degrading. I'm like a fading terpene.
I mean, they have a lot of
inside, so it's working its way to the outside.
I mean, in all fairness,
I've got botrytis of the soul. Okay,
that's right.
In all fairness, you guys, they do have a lot of free radicals in Vegas and up north.
In Portland, you mean?
Up in the Shire. Yeah.
Some unfree radicals in jail as well.
All right, we're gonna roll into
all the free radicals just got pardoned over what happened in January or so ago.
No, those are not free radicals. That's cute. That's cute. We're rolling into our next
they're
commercial.
Out in their life getting rearrested.
Yeah. Oh God. We're going to our first commercial. We're gonna be right back.
Oh man, your knees still bothering you, man?
Yeah, my left one, But I'll tell you what, I've been using this new CBD cream, and it works like a miracle.
CBDs. I done heard about them CBDs. I was out there on them Twitters the other day, and I heard they get you high as a kite.
Well, not this stuff. This stuff is tested. Every batch, all the way through, pharmaceutical grade, and in a GMP certified facility. So you know you're not going to have to worry about flying high.
GMP certified? I might have to try some of this out. Where I'm even find this?
You go directly to aimhighhemp.com and they will ship it to your door right away. Tested. It's not a name, it's a promise.
Honestly,
Oh man, that's funny, you guys. That is funny. We're gonna keep this train rolling. We're gonna roll right into Mr. Todd Denkin. Todd has that golden voice that everybody loves to hear. He's out there in the great state of Nevada in Las Vegas. That's right, where all of the working girls work constantly, and Todd is constantly working as well. He's the founder at DigiPath Labs and of the Smuggleverse, where you can purchase all of your digital dank if you can't get enough in real life. That's right, it is none other than the golden voice himself, Mr. Todd Denkin.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Tuesday listeners, and welcome to Two for Tuesday, right here at High at 9 News. A story out of New Mexico, soon to be labeled New America, of course. But New Mexico...
That's a good idea.
What's that?
That's a good idea. I'm going to float
Mexico
that.
lawmakers vote to strengthen employment protections for medical marijuana patients. That's right. New Mexico lawmakers have advanced a bill that would further protect medical marijuana patients in the state from being penalized at work for off-duty use of cannabis. House Health and Human Services Committee on Friday approved the legislation from House Majority Floor Leader Rena Stepansky, a Democrat, in a 6-2 vote. And she said, our first responders are dealing with stress, chronic pain, insomnia, and PTSD. Barring them from using medical cannabis on their own time to manage symptoms is incredibly harmful and unnecessary. It's time to make a change. Under the bill, an employee shall not be considered to be impaired by cannabis only because of the presence of metabolites or components of cannabis, it says. The measure would further prohibit random drug testing for marijuana. Patients could be screened if there's a reasonable suspicion cannabis was used on the clock, resulting in, quote, significant damage to property. Committee on Friday adopted a minor amendment that replaces a line in the bill that said, a, quote, drug test for cannabis shall be reviewed by a medical review officer who shall determine if the reason for a positive test is a legitimate medical explanation, unquote. To the new language, bill now says that an employer, quote, shall follow the cannabis impairment guidelines when testing for cannabis impairments, unquote. The measure also stipulates that the State Department of Health must assist the Workforce Solutions Department developing cannabis impairment guidelines that are based on the most reliable research or evidence-based cannabis impairment indicators, including the evaluation of physical symptoms and psychomotor and cognitive performance. Workforce Solutions Department shall inform private employers of this section and provide information related to the most recent advances in testing protocols determining cannabis impairment, it says. The Department of Finance and Administration shall disseminate the cannabis impairment guidelines to state agencies and political subdivisions of the state. The panel had heard testimony earlier last week from labor leaders who represent firefighters and other public sector workers who would be protected by the bill. Miguel Titman, gotta love this guy's name, Miguel Titman.
Love that.
President of the International Association of Firefighters, Local 244, that the group's members who are military veterans will especially benefit from the new workforce protections, pointing out that they disproportionately suffer from PTSD and pain. He said, shifts is how we work. Sometimes we don't sleep for 48 hours. All of these ailments that our members get diagnosed with and prescribed different medicines, having cannabinoids in them, he said. Random drug testing for marijuana is unconstitutional and unfair, Titman said. They will lose their job, they will lose their livelihood, they will lose their pension. That's crux of this. Theodore Ubahe, the union's vice president, called cannabis a, quote, safer alternative to opiates and other medications, unquote, firefighters might use to treat their ailments. He said, I think any time that we're just relying on random urinalysis that is not actually proving current impairment could go back as far as 30 days. Meanwhile, commissioners in New Mexico's most populous county recently approved policy details of a plan to stop testing and punishing most government employees for off-hours marijuana use. Bernalillo County, where Albuquerque is located, was the first public body in the state to implement the reform following the legalization of cannabis in 2021. Committee vote on the statewide cannabis employment legislation comes as a bipartisan proposal to establish a therapeutic psilocybin program in New Mexico. An initial hearing before a Senate panel with lawmakers voting unanimously to advance the bill. Last year, New Mexico lawmakers passed, and Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham, a Democrat, endorsed a resolution requesting that the state officials research the therapeutic potential of psilocybin, explore the creation of a regulatory framework to provide access to the psychedelic drug. Prior year, the House Health and Human Services Committee passed a bill that called for the creation of a state body to study the possibility of launching a psilocybin therapy program for certain patients. That measure did not advance further in the 2023 session, however. I'm Todd Denkin with High 9 News, and some good news for patients in New Mexico. More drug testing, no more penalties, no more ostracizing somebody for actually using cannabis to get through their pain, their PTSD, or whatever it is they might use it for. I think this should be nationwide and not just statewide. They do the same thing here in Las Vegas, where cannabis is not tested for when applying for any kind of permit job. Well, nice job, New Mexico. What do you guys think?
I think this is fantastic news, Todd. I'm excited for all the workers and all the employees out there that are going to benefit from this. I think this is a great thing, and like you said, I think more states should definitely implement these types of policies. I don't think we're going to get it on a nationwide basis, but I think more states definitely should implement these types of policies.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the fact that somebody uses cannabis off hours because they want to sleep or because they're in pain or whatever else that they're using for should not qualify them from any employment, for sure.
I agree. I mean, there's so many other things to disqualify people for employment for.
That's right, like stupidity, and not showing up, right?
Exactly.
So
a lot of those things are valid. You know what I mean?
No, I hear you. I hear you.
That's why they say 90% of success is just showing up, Todd.
That's right. Honestly, good help is really hard to find. So if you do have some good help and you do have some good workers and they smoke a little weed when they're home, who gives a shit?
Who gives exactly? Who cares?
I mean?
Like that's not the focus in my world.
Yeah, for sure.
It seems like the second wave after adult use in a state is sort of the HR issues and considerations that get worked out. We covered it yesterday when we were talking about firefighters in Kentucky. We're covering it today as, New Mexico has a more mature adult use market. And these are these things that are getting worked out on a state-by-state basis because we still have this federal illegality. But it makes a lot of sense, and it makes sense that those would be the natural byproduct of having adult use markets or medical markets where people are consuming cannabis because it stays in their systems for so long.
That is a problem. Until they come out with like a breathalyzer type thing, right, to test people's immediate usage.
That's never going to work, Todd. That's all total bullshit. I mean, you do plenty of testing.
I know it is. Yeah.
You're just gassing setting people up for failure.
Some immediate test, of some kind to do that. Right. It doesn't exist today.
It actually does exist. It's called common sense. And let me look into your eyes. You know what I mean? Like, that's it. If you can't tell by looking at someone if they're high or not, then they're probably not high.
Oh,
it's pretty simple.
Just judge somebody's highness.
100% you can. Without a doubt you could.
I don't know, bro. I'm not buying that.
You don't got to buy it because I'm selling it. I'll have someone else buy it with a higher price.
That's for sure. That's for sure. I don't pay retail, bro. Come on.
Oh, I'm not selling retail. These are bulk rates, Todd. These are bulk rates.
Oh,
yeah,
gotcha.
These are rules to live by right here, Todd.
Yeah, I think looking at somebody and determining if they're high is not a good system. But like I said, until there's an immediate, hey, you're this high sort of a test, which we know doesn't exist. No, it's very difficult to create because it doesn't exist, right? Well, and, I've actually worked on a couple of projects trying to determine, a saliva test that THC, but like we mentioned earlier, this stuff stays in your system for about 30 days. So testing a drug test is very difficult with what is available today. And until something is invented that does work, there's no way to really for it,
I mean, I just think even people that are wasting money trying to figure something out are still just wasting money trying to figure something out, because it's not feasible for what they're trying to do to be able to accomplish. I don't find like it makes more sense by telling people to count to 10 as a test than it does with spending all this money trying to develop something that they think is going to work that's ultimately is not going to work.
Possibly. But, most inventions work that way. Nothing worked until they worked. Right?
I see what you did there, Todd. See what you did there.
Yeah, I mean, the light bulb took, he tried it 1,000 times, and on 1,001, it didn't work.
Well, you have any final thoughts on this, Yarrow? You want to sign up for a P test?
No, I've done that enough times. It's pretty humiliating to have to whip out your moneymaker in front of a probation officer because you used cannabis. And I've done that plenty of times. And I look forward to some less invasive tests that can be done in real time. Great roadside. Let's come up with some scientific guidelines for what impairment versus ingestation means. We don't have it yet. Department of Transportation in California was working on it for a long time. There were studies at UC San Diego that were being done. It troubles me how slow the progress has been in being able to come up with some way to quantify when somebody is not okay to drive based on cannabis ingestion. We don't have it yet. I think it's probably foolish to expect that everybody is going to know where their boundaries are and behave as responsible citizens when we got stupid guys with a metal plate in their head feeding their kids edibles.
That's fair.
Clearly you can't,
right.
Common
That's
sense
right.
is not as common as we'd like to think.
Well, I've always said that.
Yeah. And, I don't know. I mean, it's a problem. It will continue to be a greater problem as more states roll out programs. But if the science isn't there, I'd rather them not have some pseudoscience or some flimsy science and then be giving people DWIs based on wannabe science. And we've been talking about the saliva tests for years and years and years. Whoever cracks the code, they're going to have a great company. They're going to sell an amazing product. But until that happens, I'm as much as I'm concerned about people driving when they're too stoned, I'm also concerned about a lot of people getting DUIs because of the presence of cannabis when they're not impaired.
Agreed.
There's really no way to study for a urine test, is there?
I see what you did there. Yeah.
Thank you.
I see what you did there.
It's an embarrassing part of being in the system, the urinalysis component, and it's super embarrassing. And I really think that it's part of the dehumanization and the process of being caught up in the system because of prohibition. It's not fun.
Speaking of being caught up,
if I'm going to whip it out, I want to be charged with indecent exposure. At least I want to be in a playground or some inappropriate place with a trench coat. I don't want it to be because my PO is staring over my shoulder.
Fair enough, Yarrow. Speaking of being caught up and whatnot, I'm going to roll into our next story. And this is a follow-up story from my story yesterday, Yarrow. You're going to enjoy this. All right, I got some good news. Are you ready?
Yeah, we're ready.
All right.
Always ready for good news.
Because just so you know, Todd, too, Yarrow has recently become a Republican. He has switched. He has switched. That's right.
Interesting.
Yep. Because that's right, Russia releases the U.S. citizen Kalob Byers after the marijuana arrest on February 7th, you guys. That's right, the guy I reported on yesterday. Russia has released Kalob Byers, a 28-year-old U.S. citizen who was detained earlier this month at Moscow's Vanolko airport on drug smuggling charges related to marijuana. That's right. He's the Paddington Bear of cannabis because he was smuggling in marmalade, you guys. Byers was taken into custody on February 7th after Russian authorities allegedly found cannabis-laced marmalade, in his baggage. He had arrived from Istanbul with his Russian fiancée, Nadia Membotiva, who also was arrested, and Russian officials accused him of attempting to smuggle, in quotes, a significant amount of drugs. A charge that carries a potential 10-year prison sentence. Following his release... What's that?
In marmalade?
Marmalade, bro. Trust me, yeah. That's why I said. That's why I call him the Paddington Bear of cannabis. Following his release, Byers is now at the U.S. Embassy in Moscow and is awaiting a flight home, according to the reports from Russian independent news outlet Meduza. A U.S. official confirmed his release to the Associated Press, but did not provide further details. It remains unclear whether Memobotova, the girlfriend, has been freed, and she was reportedly placed in pretrial detention on the same charges. Byers' release comes shortly after Russia freed Mark Fogel, a Pennsylvania teacher who had been sentenced to 14 years in prison for possessing medically prescribed marijuana. And Fogel was detained in 2021 while traveling to Russia for work and had long been considered wrongfully detained by his supporters. He was released earlier this month in a prisoner exchange that saw Russian cryptocurrency expert Alexander Vinnik returned to Russia. The U.S. and Russia have increasingly used prisoner swaps to resolve high-profile detentions, and particularly as relations between the two nations have soured over the war in Ukraine. Byers' release, along with Fogel, signals a potential shift in diplomatic negotiations, though the full implications remain uncertain, you guys. Well, I think this is fantastic news that this guy is out, but I do think that this guy is an idiot for trying to bring in medicated marmalade into Russia, and you know what I'm saying? Stupid is as stupid does, I guess. Forrest Gump told us that best, but I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this.
Look, anytime you're traveling to another country, especially fucking Russia, you got to know what's in your fucking luggage.
Exactly.
It's just stupid.
I agree.
It's just stupid, man.
Well, and he was coming from Turkey, which we all know is an international drug smuggling hub in Europe.
It just doesn't make any fucking sense.
I mean, why not some actual pounds of weed? Why marmalade? Is marmalade that popular? Is it making a resurgence all of a sudden? Because I don't even see it in store shelves out here anymore.
I think it has to do with the distinct and overwhelming smell of citrus, maybe covering up the smell of hashish that he had tried to sort of mix in or something like that. That would be my only guess.
Oh, that maybe. Oh, I could see that, like how they used to do with coffee beans and stick the stuff in the coffee beans kind of thing. Possibly. Interesting.
I think it's a way just, he was thinking they're not going to look in my marmalade, are they?
Yeah, right.
Right.
Exactly.
It's just dumb. People who get arrested for bringing weed to other countries deserve whatever happens to them, in my opinion. Just stupid.
Nick Bradley.
Did you guys see that Brittany Grenier was the keynote speaker at the Women Grow conference this last week?
Oh, yeah. You guys don't want me to.
She canceled. She canceled?
Well, apparently she got some hate speech, some sort of.
I don't buy that shit for a second.
In her hotel
That's
room
total
or
bullshit.
on her hotel room door, and so she abruptly canceled.
Yeah, I'm not buying that as the reason why. I think that's total bullshit lie. I have a few theories, but I got told by someone that they're all very unpolitically correct to stay as far as my official opinion.
That's how you live your life. You live your life that way.
Bro.
Yeah.
What are your theories? I want to hear it.
Yeah, Nick Bradley in the comments says, Jason, read my comment. And Nick, I'm not sure what comment you want me to read or whatnot. And if you want me to read it, you can make it a super chat. How about that? And then I will definitely read it, and I'll definitely know which chat that you're actually talking about.
These guys don't know how smuggling works. Wrap it in plastic bags, then put it in things they think won't be searched.
Todd, you just totally ruined the whole thing to get him to make it a super chat. Thanks a lot. You just ruined the revenue source. Thanks, buddy.
Sorry.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, no.
Way to go, Todd.
Yeah, way to go,
I don't even
Todd.
know what a super chat
revenue,
is.
bro.
Then he said we sound dumb.
Of course,
Never
I mean,
nice,
I mean, Nick says all kinds of dumb shit in the chat every day, so like it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
But Nick, we still love you, bro, and we hope you're feeling all right. You know what I'm saying? Steve Blessingham in the chat, he says, I like orange marmalade with butter and gamar on my toast. What the hell is gamar?
I don't know.
I'll tell you what, it's definitely not
I know what it
avocado
is.
toast, which we all now call Americados.
Gamar might be a typo.
I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
I mean, Steve's got food experience, right?
He does.
Pretty high level.
He does.
So I'm gonna go with whatever his recipe suggestions are. I'm gonna kind of lean into the turn and trust that Steve knows his way around a delicious plate better than most.
He definitely does. I'm gonna agree with you on that. And Steve, the next time you come up this way, I hope you bring some gamar so I can see what this stuff actually is. And you know what I'm saying? We'll post it on social media, and you know what I'm saying? We'll educate the world on it, because I have no clue what gamar is. I've never heard of it. But nonetheless.
Gourmet dried nuts.
Gourmet dried nuts.
Dried nuts.
Interesting.
Mexican snacks.
Is it smooth like peanut butter, or is it crunchy like a, you know what I'm saying, like a rock road?
I don't know. Not really.
Fair enough.
Gamar means to fall in love with.
Well, that sounds right up the alley. And on that, we are going to roll into our next commercial, and we are going to be right back, you guys. I just ordered the summertime strawberry salad when added steak on top here at Anna's. Make sure you do the same thing too next time you're in downtown Long Beach. Come on down and check out Anna's joint on the 400 block of Pine Street. They have amazing selection of beers, foods, and when you come down here to Anna's, you can even challenge me to a game of shuffleboard if you want to lose. Did you get that? So, next time you're in downtown Long Beach on Pine Avenue, make sure you stop by Anna's Joint on the 400 block. Not only do they have Anna's Joint, this restaurant and bar, but they also have the amazing deli next door, and then next door to that, they have a very exotic flower shop. You may want to stop by and say hi.
Much worse.
There we go. Stop.
Much better.
There we go. Stop whatever you're doing. Make sure you smash that like button. I know we'll appreciate it. You'll appreciate it. And YouTube will appreciate it. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you've not subscribed already. And all of the articles that we cover on today's show, you can read directly on our website at www.high9news.com. And do we have some updates on this chat? I hope you guys can see up here how this poll is going. Make sure you scan that Scantron. Make your voices heard so we can try this thing out and see if this can work. For our polls, you guys, you know what I'm saying? Please help us out and try to, you know what I'm saying, see how this thing can work, because this is how we'll be doing polls in the future, so that way everybody on all of the platforms can participate during the polls. Are you a business that's suffering from the hyperinflation that is plaguing America today? We have the solution for you. That's right, Patriot Business Financing. Head on over to www.patriotbfc.com and apply for a loan up to $2 million. Any state, any industry, even the cannabis industry, the CBD industry, as well as the industrial hemp fiber industry, secure up to $2 million today. And make sure that when you apply, you tell Paul you said hi from High at 9.
Fair enough. I got this dog.
Oh, hold on, Yarrow. Hold on, Yarrow. Hold on, Yarrow. Hold on a second. You're going to have your moment to chat, because it is who is up next, Yarrow. It is the man from the Shire who we need to get propped up with a telephone book just so that way he can see over his desk. That's right. He does cannabis. He does real estate. And sometimes when there's actually money in cannabis, he can do some cannabis real estate as well. That's right. It is none other than Mr. Yarrow Kubrin.
That intro is so terrible. Just so you know, like it's almost like I would rather have no intro than that. Sorry. And sometimes when there's money and You're getting us this. I mean, that was Giga Chad intro, just so you know. But anyway.
All right, Giga Chad.
Without further ado, good morning. Good morning. Yes, my article is about cannabis real estate. And but let me kick this off because I think it's relatively salacious. Shareholders sue Cannabis REIT, that's Real Estate Investment Trust, over looming rent defaults. Shareholders are suing Innovative Industrial Properties, a REIT focused on providing real estate to cannabis companies, alleging that the company did not properly disclose tenant rent payment issues to its investors and did not adequately address the risk posed by unpaid rent. 2 separate complaints have been filed against IIPR by individual shareholders, Bloomberg Law reported. They both name the company and individual executives, including Executive Chairman Alan Gold, CEO Paul Smithers, and Chief Financial Officer David Smith. Both complaints allege that the company and its leaders breached their fiduciary duties to investors last year and presented a misleading picture of the company's financial performance that was rosier than reality. IIPR did not immediately respond to requests for comment. The complaint points to a third quarter 2024 earnings from IIPR that showed funds from operations and revenue lower than expectations. The complaint alleges that the declines were actually because issues with the single largest tenant, PharmaCann. PharmaCann's rent should have accounted for 17% of the company's total rent revenue in 2024 through the third quarter. PharmaCann failed to pay rent in December 2024 on its 6 of its 11 leases with IIPR. The company's rent was worth $4.2 million. IIPR announced the defaults the same month. Additionally, although PharmaCann had paid the rent on the remaining 5 leases it had with IIPR, PharmaCann was in default under the 5 leases due to its non-payment of rent on the other 6 leases, the lawsuit said. In January 2025, IIPR announced an agreement with PharmaCann to reduce its overall base rent from $2.8 million per month to $2.6 million per month, as well as issue it a loan secured by all of PharmaCann's assets. The damage had already been done, the complaint says. News of the unpaid rent caused this IIPR stock to drop notably, as it did with the lower than expected earnings numbers. Shareholders have also been aware of the major struggles with its anchor tenant and the effects that it's likely the rent non-payment would have on the company's financial health. But they were not, as the complaint says. They should have been, but they were not. As a result, the misleading statements made by the company and its leadership, investors weren't given a complete picture of IIPR's leasing operations. Both complaints ask for jury trials and are seeking damages and a change to IIPR's corporate governance procedure to avoid future similar issues, including strengthening the board's internal reporting and financial disclosure controls and developing and implementing procedures for greater shareholder input into the policies and guidelines of the board. So, let me kick this off. When I was a director of real estate at CanDev and we focused on dispensary development, we took the entire team out to MJ Biz. And prior to that, I scheduled appointments with everybody and anybody who was involved in cannabis real estate, other entities that were our co-opetition, capital sources, prospective tenants, as well as anybody who was in cannabis real estate in the ecosystem. Without a doubt, the most off-putting, arrogant, and obnoxious person I ever met with at any MJ Biz was the gentleman who was the IIPR employee. Now, he was not bottom of the food chain on their, or bottom of their totem pole. And the hubris of this guy was incredibly off-putting. I'm just going to say that. Like, not even remotely attempting to be nice or pleasant. Additionally, at that meeting, he bragged that they had never had a tenant default on rent. Now, I'm going to name names here in Dish T. At that same time, Johnny Delaplane in San Francisco was the director of business development for CanDev. And when I shared with him what this gentleman said, Johnny scoffed and said that he was aware of tenant defaults on some of IIPR's holdings. Now, that was in 2022. I cannot say that I know that that is entirely accurate, but the way in which they walked around like their whatever didn't stink, coupled with what these allegations now seem to indicate, all I can say is pride comes before the fall. This is Yarrow Kubrin, High at 9 News.
So these guys going to lose all this real estate? Yarrow, is it like going to go up for auction, for sale? Like, what's going to ultimately happen with all these assets?
So I also had the pleasure of interacting with PharmaCann's co-founder during that same period of time. Very brilliant attorney. And he was maybe a little too smart, but that's a whole nother story. Going to lose the real estate over this. This company is probably going to have regime change in its leadership because it's always the cover up, not the crime, that gets people in trouble. And so if you fail to disclose, you have a fiduciary duty to the people that give you money, that entrust you to be transparent and to invest or deploy that money in a way that is going to provide the maximum return. Anytime you've got a company and you take money and you don't tell the full and complete truth, including the warts and the bad things, that's a big, big issue. So my guess would be that if this is in fact accurate, and I have no reason to believe it is or isn't, that these people will at a minimum be out of job, probably will be a clawback of some of their compensation, and that you'll see new people leading this company, and that the company will have a renewed emphasis on transparency and engagement with its investors and trying to earn back the trust of the capital markets. I don't think that means they're going to lose the real estate. Now, in respects to the leases that are not being paid, it's not uncommon, especially in cannabis, for tenants to have to work out some sort of revised payment agreement. The thing is, they already did that with this company. And so they will either renegotiate again or those tenants will be kicked out. The problem with kicking out a tenant like this is once you have all those specialized fixtures, furniture, and equipment, and you really have a very purpose-built facility, the number of other prospective tenants that would come in and pay a similar price is pretty limited. And so this holding company will, this REIT will have a couple choices: either renegotiate with these tenants, try to seek another tenant that would pay something comparable based on the specialization of that facility, or strip all of that stuff out and lease it to a non-cannabis tenant, likely at less money, and based more on sort of like the salvage value, the base value of that real estate. And I do think that if this is, if there's fire where there's smoke and there's merit to these allegations, that at a minimum heads are going to roll and people are going to lose their jobs at the top.
But couldn't the REIT just kick these tenants out and say, you know what, we're going to operate these businesses and da da da? Because a lot of these landlords and whatnot throughout cannabis, they think that just because that they're the landlord, they're going to, we see this a lot with social equity applicants and whatnot, to where the landlord becomes a default partner in the business.
There's no world in which I think that this REIT is going to try to assume an operational role.
Okay. All right. Okay. That's this particular REIT, though, is what you're saying. That this one that we're talking about in particularly, you don't believe that that's going to be the any possible outcome.
I would bet a body part that that's not going to happen.
Which body part?
Not your body parts, Todd, you sick fuck. I'm talking about mine. I'm talking about a liver, a kidney, a cornea.
Not an arm?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. Bet your body part. Okay, it's hard to chat.
So, right. So yeah, no, I don't think that, and frankly, I also think that it's a little extra when people think they can come in and run some of these businesses. It's easy for them to criticize where people aren't running these businesses the way they'd like them to, or at a higher level. These businesses are not easy to run. It takes a lot of skill and experience. For the most part, people from outside of the industry have thought that the industry was just full of a bunch of people who wanted to play a didgeridoo and surf and volley and didn't know what the heck they were doing. Came in, everybody thought because they had a Wharton MBA, they were going to show this industry how things were worked, and really got humbled. There's a lot of operational experience, especially in people with legacy and medical experience going back a long time. And a lot of that knowledge and that operational experience wasn't really honored. And then a lot of these companies fell on their nose and said, oops, and went back to some of those talented operators and those really skillful practitioners and said, hey, yeah, I read your SOPs, but I don't know what I'm supposed to do with them. And so I think scaling quality and the inversely proportional relationship between quality and volume is never an easy balancing act.
The worst thing they did was lie to shareholders, right? You just can't do it. Like you said, even the bad news, you have to tell them the bad news. You have to be transparent. I've run a couple of publicly traded companies in the cannabis space my many years in this business. And we had to report the bad news. I literally, back in 2018, the CCB here was going on a rampage with all of the labs, and, shutting them down and then asking questions later. So back in 2018, we got a shutdown, and I had to do a press release, right, telling the world that the CCB just shut us down. Funny part about the whole thing is that that was on a Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't get a meeting with the CCB until Tuesday. It was actually the tax division that was handling cannabis back then. So went in first thing Tuesday morning to go see Jorge Pupo.
That's a great
name. Said to me was, what's that? Yeah, who was actually indicted for taking bribes.
Jorge Pupo.
Right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I went into him and he said, "Oh, if I would have known you were public, I wouldn't have suspended you." Well, damage is done. I did a fucking press release. And
wow,
we had to just kind of live with it. It was a huge nightmare for the company, for our stock price, for our valuation. It was horrible.
Yeah,
and horrible.
Man, these guys, these people, I don't think they're ever going to learn. But nonetheless, we're going to roll into our final commercial. Thank you so much for covering this, Yarrow. We're going to be right back.
Oh man, your knees still bothering you, man?
Yeah, I left one, But I'll tell you what, I've been using this new CBD cream, and it works like a miracle.
CBDs? I done heard about them CBDs. I was out there on them Twitters the other day, and I heard they get you high as a kite.
Well, not this stuff. This stuff is tested. Every batch, all the way through, pharmaceutical grade, and in a GMP certified facility. So you're not going to have to worry about flying high.
GMP certified? I might have to try some of this out. Where do I even find this?
You go directly to aimhighhemp.com and they will ship it to your door right away. Tested. It's not a name, it's a promise.
Cannabis policy.
Is that the one you want me to opine on?
Yeah, I want you to opine on both of them.
Through the other one because I got like.
I'm gonna blast through it. I guess Jenny Beth couldn't be here today, but this was going to be her story today. So I'm just going to, you know what I'm saying? We're going to power through this.
Well, let's not beat a dead horse.
Hold on, Yarrow. Easy. Let me talk when I'm talking. Lottery could decide if Minnesota's dispensaries open in 2025. That's right. The state of Minnesota starts accepting cannabis business licenses on Tuesday. And why this matters is how the process goes will determine when dispensaries and other parts of the state's new legal cannabis market get off the ground. The big picture overall is that Minnesota legalized adult use cannabis back in 2023, but state licensed stores and grow operations have yet to launch. But you need to catch up fast because hopes of an early 2025 debut were dashed after the state scrapped plans for an earlier pre-approval process for social equity applicants amid a court challenge. Governor Tim Walz said last week that he believes that the state is still on target for opening stores sometime this year. And you guys want to know what to expect? Well, the state officials expect to issue the licenses sometime in May or June, following lotteries for eligible applicants run by the Office of Cannabis Management. Proposed businesses, which include cultivators, retail, and testing facilities, Todd, have until March 14th to get their applications in. But, you guys, that's right, a big but. It could take a few more months for cannabis retailers to actually open, as licenses are also needed to grow the crop for state-approved dispensaries, you guys. Lilo Fatili, a cannabis consultant who helped draft the legalization law, tells Axios that any retail launch this year would likely be a very small scale because there's just not going to be enough supply, you guys. And they have a threat level also in here because they are expecting litigation over this application process could further the delay of the timeline, they believe. And of course, there's always that good reality check for you guys because most dispensaries will open across the state soon, regardless of how the state licensing process shakes out, thanks to compacts allowing tribal nations in Minnesota to launch their own off-reservation stores. That's a story we covered last week here on High and 9 News. And that head start, which follows the creation of 4 existing dispensaries on tribal land, may discourage some non-tribal businesses from applying for state licenses over fear that they'd be in a competitive disadvantage already, you guys. Well, Minnesota. the Twin States. What do you got to say?
Just think
about
any
this?
kind of lottery to get into business is ridiculous. You know, you're not getting it on merit. You're getting it on being chosen out of a fucking hat. Just stupid. It's no way. I can't believe it's gone this far, and they use this for cannabis licensing really all over the place. Right? It's just ridiculous. I mean, the fact that you have to bear the expense of getting everything ready, right? Because you need a location, you need all the things that you got to do to qualify, right? Then you get chosen out of a hat, go into business. It's just ridiculous. They have to change.
I mean, it's like Yarrow when he dresses up in a white rabbit suit. It's pulled out of the hat. You know what I mean?
I hear what you're saying there. I know what you did there.
Just, you know.
Anyway, I don't think a lottery is ever going to work. So we'll hear problem after problem after problem, whether it's in Minnesota or Maine or Florida or Michigan or wherever.
The one thing I think he's probably the most right about is that there are going to be some of these lawsuits that are going to impede this whole process. And so if I was in Minnesota, I wouldn't expect to be able to go to anything other than one of these Indian reservation dispensaries prior to next year.
I mean, the one thing that I think is great about this article is it says that this lottery isn't going to represent all of the dispensaries because tribes are going to be able to open up dispensaries, and they're going to be able to open up dispensaries off of their tribal land. And so, like, I think about like the short end of the stick that indigenous people got for a really long time, and the only economic opportunity most of them have been in like gaming or hotels, and I think opening up dispensaries, tribal dispensaries, is a much better value add for the rest of this country than casinos and blackjack and card tables. And so it's kind of nice that the tribes can open up dispensaries that don't have to be on their land. I mean, that part of the article I think we shouldn't not cover, which is that
Yarrow
seems like a really cool way, even for those who don't believe in reparations or that we have any obligation to right the wrongs of the history in this country. Like the fact that the tribes can open dispensaries off of their reservations and participate in the legal market in Minnesota, and that they are not subject to this lottery, I think that's a bright note.
Well, Yarrow, if you were watching the show last week on Thursday, I covered that whole story of the tribes being able to open up 5 stores throughout the state and and I was in total support of that. I thought that was a fantastic idea. Yeah,
I think it's great.
Yeah. All right, now we're going to roll into this final story. This is going to be Saman's story. I love this story, and in the efforts of all of my liberal friends that were calling yesterday Doge Day in protest yesterday, I felt that this story was definitely appropriate to make sure that we brought up today, because it sounds like Doge is coming to Maine, you guys, in the cannabis space, because the Government Oversight Committee investigating Maine's Office of Cannabis Policy, you guys. Oh, yeah, that's right. The branch of state government that oversees marijuana in Maine is under investigation. Republican Representative David Boyer says the Government Oversight Committee voted unanimously to investigate Maine's Office of Cannabis Policy. This comes after Anya Trundy, a member of Maine's Department of Administrative and Financial Services, admitted to intentionally not delivering an annual cannabis report last year. She says she did so to avoid adding, in quote, flames to the fire during last year's legislative negotiations over cannabis policy, although it's still not clear what's in the report that might have done that. And lawmakers have said, regardless of the motivation, that withholding the report was inappropriate, you guys, and therefore has sparked this whole new investigation of the oversight of the Maine's Office of Cannabis Policy. And I can't wait to see what these guys find out. I just feel like it's going to be a whole big kit and caboodle that we're going to get to report on right here at High at 9 News. And what do you have to say about this, Yarrow?
All right, I'm going to kick this off. First of all, I was Googling Anya Trundy's political affiliation to see if I could try to offend you, Jason. And unfortunately, she's Democrat.
Of course she's a Democrat. Of course, she thinks she can do whatever she wants to do in government. That's what they do.
So
I know, because the Republicans don't feel that way.
Yeah, because they just don't care. But the thing is that it goes back to what we talked about with the previous article that we covered today, where it's the cover up, not the crime. So the withholding of that report because she didn't want the consequences of releasing the report.
Yeah,
all day, every day, that's going to get people in trouble. All day, every day, that will. Single time be the wrong choice. And so I'm all for transparency and accountability. I don't think it has anything to do with Doge or Mr. Stinky. I mean Musk, and I don't think that that's the issue. I think the issue is quite simply nonpartisan, which is transparency in government. And so we know that cannabis policy is a place where a lot of governments have not gotten it right, and where there's more than room for improvement. And the idea with public policy is sorry, my dog is chewing on everything. I think the idea with public policy is to make those adjustments, right? Measure and adjust, measure and adjust. And so the fact that this person did not deliver a report and is admitting that they did that on purpose, like that should be grounds for termination.
Yeah,
automatically.
Sure. Absolutely.
You shouldn't get to keep your job if you do that. I mean, it's like cash box honesty.
Yeah.
It doesn't take that much to be a decent enough human being that stuff gets done. The other thing also is, who was this person's boss, right? Because ultimately there's a chain of command in these structures. How was this person allowed to not release that? And is that just
sounds like she was her own boss?
We supposed to believe it was the rogue actor yet again that just decided not to release it?
Yep.
That's kind of a little bit hard for me to believe because ultimately that person reports to somebody else. So I would hope that the accountability goes up the food chain. But like, that's definitely, you should lose your job. And Anya Trundy, maybe there's a bud tender position for you. And I don't mean that in a disparaging way to the bud tender, because it's one of the most important roles in the retail experience. But maybe there's another position for you in cannabis, because clearly cannabis policy is not it.
Yeah, of course she was a Democrat, though, Yarrow. Of course, we all knew that from the beginning. You didn't even need to Google that. You could have guessed that.
Right.
What do you got to say, Todd?
Oh, I'm just saying that I agree with Yarrow. She should lose her job for hiding any of information that the public should know. Similar to the previous story, where they're just not releasing the bad news. You got to tell people what the fuck is happening, so they can make smart, educated decisions based on their own lives, right? So she needs to resign. She needs to get fired, or whatever has to happen. And maybe the cannabis industry just isn't for her, or maybe she just runs all of her businesses like that, sneaky and shady, and trying not to be transparent. So maybe we should just get rid of her altogether.
Maybe she's just a bureaucrat and doesn't understand how to run a business at all whatsoever, and just got there because she knows how to push paper, but apparently she couldn't push that paper over the line.
Yeah, I agree.
I find it interesting, super interesting, that she said that she didn't release the report because she didn't want to fan the flames. I find that hysterically funny, personally.
Have to fan the flames.
Yeah, exactly. I'm all about fanning the flames. Like, you know what I mean? Especially in cannabis, let it burn. Let it burn. Otherwise, you know what I mean? Maybe she
what
was.
Happens to all my weed.
That's what I'm saying. Maybe she was trying to say, hey, you know what? If there's no smoke, there's no fire. It's possible. It's possible.
I think that, when you work in government, you have a duty to the people who elected you, whether you're appointed or not. And that duty is a fiduciary duty. It's a duty of transparency. It's a duty of fair dealing. And that, it just reminds me, we're only as sick as our secrets, which is why I probably TMI too much on this show, but we're only as sick as our secrets. And the moment you decide to withhold information, you've created a harm to the people you were hired to help. And that people that she was hired to help are the constituents.
Yep.
And they deserve to have all the information and to be as informed as possible. It seems like our society is getting dumber and dumber by the day. So at a very minimum, let's give people the information so they can ideally make their most informed decisions. And anytime you're hiding information, you're on the wrong side of history.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I am all about that. And thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific and high noon on the East Coast. Big shout outs to our audience and supporters for tuning in daily and listening to the insanity that is the developing cannabis industry. Huge thank you to Aim High Hemp Distribution and Catalyst for helping us keep the lights on over here. And thank you to our correspondents, Yarrow and Todd, for being absolutely amazing. Thank you to Cannabis Sativa L for giving us a reason to do all this. And thank you to Cloud Media Partners, Anthony out there in the metaverse somewhere. And thank you all for tuning in and getting high at 9 with us. We are America's #1 daily cannabis news show.
Later, guys.
Later, guys.